How is it going, everybody? I've got some more Magic for you today with a Golgari Villain deck. I do have some inclusions in here that aren't villains, obviously things like Llanowar Elves or Boroid. I'm using the Lumbering World Wagon. A lot of that is really because mana ramp matters for this. There's not very many 2-mana villains, and there are no 1-mana villains. So, Llanowar Elves really helps you get that turn 1 play that can help get you into your 3 and 4 drops much more quickly. We've got the Lurking Lizard here, which is a villain. It's a 1/3 for 2 mana with Trample, and it gets a 1/1 counter anytime a creature of 4 mana or higher is played. We have many of those because we've got Luis Pompous Pillager, which will be 4 mana more often than not. So we'll just stick it over here. We have the Ouroboros itself, which will be 4 mana. And then all of our things here, we have Nil Vessel of Algavoth. This is going to give us a mana discount on all of our villains. It also will return a villain card from the graveyard to our hand if one enters the graveyard. So that's really nice, and we can get that going immediately on like turn 2 if we already have a Llanowar Elf out to discount our villains. Really the main reason for things like Llanowar Elf, the Vessel of Algavoth, and the Lumbering World Wagon is so that we can get the Luis Pompous Pillager, or I don't know if it's Louis or Luis. I tend to read that like Luis because I played Resident Evil 4, and that's more or less how his name was pronounced. But anyway, I love this card. Probably my favorite card in the whole deck in actuality. It has a lot of utility and can one-shot your opponent if you get enough mana ramp going. So getting an elf out into like a turn 2 World Wagon, then getting the World Wagon to build up mana for you before getting out of Luis can be huge. Not to mention it helps us get our Ouroboros out more easily, which can pump the whole team. This thing can get additional 1/1 counters on top of the ones that it'll get for playing the 4 drops. And it has Trample by default, which is really nice. Bracco Heartless Pillager, which is a really fantastic villain that I've been enjoying, also has Trample by default. It's a 4/3 for 3 mana on its own, which is really good, and that can be discounted down to 2 mana if we are using the Vessel of Algavoth out on the battlefield. So really nice there. Anytime you kill a creature with the strongest power among the creatures your opponent controls, you get to draw a card and get a 1/1 counter on this creature, which is really nice. It gives you a nice draw engine as well as making your creatures bigger too. And then I also have the Scouring Storm Soul, which is Sandman. Speaking of, this is Craven if you haven't seen that. And then this one's a vampire thing from the Spider-Man series. I'm not entirely... I think his name is Monal or something like that. Not super familiar with that character, actually. But it had something to do with, like, these multiversal vampires that would, like, feed on spirit totems. So, like, things with really strong connections to animals, like Spider-Man or Craven, for example. But anyway, Craven the Hunter or Bracco Heartless Hunter, and then Sandman, which is the Scouring Storm Soul. It's 3 mana, or 2 if you have the Vessel out, and it has power and toughness equal to the number of lands you control, and if there is a land in your graveyard, you can pay 5 to return it and the land from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. It does require a land in the graveyard to do that, so I have just a few Bitter Triumphs in the deck as discard outlets so that we can try and get some of our land in the graveyard. I could also run Fabled Passage, so that's something you could consider if you really wanted to. You could run Fabled Passage in this just so that you could make sure you get the ability to get this back from the graveyard, but we can also get it back with the Vessel of Algavoth, so keep that in mind. Lots of removal here. We want to be able to trigger our Bracco. You could use more removal, in fact, as well, and I really considered it. Right now, I've got 2 Tragic Trajectory, because it is a 1 mana -2/-2 that could potentially be a -10/-10. I've got Bitter Triumph. Like I said, the main purpose of the Bitter Triumph is just so we can get a land in the graveyard, so we have the potential of getting back the Sandman. And then Shoot the Sheriff, which is our primary means of destroying things. You could replace this with the House Grows Hungry, which is really good as well. One of the new things. It has multiplicative useful abilities among being able to be a discard outlet for you if you really want more options to discard. It kills a creature when it enters, as well as it also exiles target player's graveyard on Saga 3, which is really nice because you can have a means of dealing with graveyard decks in the main board with that. But it is a 3-mana option, and if you try to play it to get the other Saga value while you're the only one with a creature on the battlefield, it will kill one of your creatures. So I decided to omit it in this version of the deck, mostly because I didn't want more 3-drops. We're already really heavy on things that are going to be 3 or more mana, essentially. Luis is probably going to be upwards of 5 mana or more each time that we play it, as long as we don't get stuck on mana. I do have a sideboard here. We've got Duress, mostly for control matchups, which you will run into a significant amount of. Nowhere to Run to help us get past Ward and Hexproof, because that's pretty prominent right now. Heritage Reclamation to help us get rid of artifacts, enchantments, or even just something from the graveyard. We've got Scavenging Ooze. You could easily just run Ghost Vacuum in this for a cheaper Graveyard Hate card, but since it's in green, I always feel that if you have the opportunity to run Scavenging Ooze over Ghost Vacuum, I usually would, because this card can be an absolute menace to graveyard-focused decks, or even just to the ability of being able to regain U life if you're up against like a mono-red matchup. So it helps some in a way that the Ghost Vacuum wouldn't otherwise. I wanted some board wipes because I've been needing them quite a bit. So we have Miasmic Mist as a 2-of for Mayhem. If you find yourself needing this often, more often than not, you can pay the 3 mana, hit -2/-2 to everybody, and it's not going to matter too much. We have the Vessel of Valgavoth, and the Llanowar Elves are our only creatures that'll be hit by that, pretty much always. So it's not going to hurt too bad to do it for the 3-drop. However, it does have the Madness ability. You could use a Bitter Triumph and discard it, but that's pretty expensive because this Mayhem is a 4-cost to only hit your opponent's creatures with the -2/-2. So if you're seeing a huge problem here, you could replace this for a Harvester of Misery, something along those lines potentially, but this isn't really a graveyard-focused deck, so it's not very helpful. We don't have a way to get it back, and we don't have any value from it being in the graveyard, and it's not a villain, so we can't get it back with the Vessel. And then I wanted to try out Villainous Wrath. You could very easily run, in place of this, some Deadly Cover-Up if you want to try and remove things from your opponent's library upon wiping the board. So very easy switch out, but it's also just a really good way to deal significant damage to your opponent with this one. So I wanted to give that a try. I think sideboard changes, if I was going to make any. And I like what I have here, but if you were going to change things, I'd probably switch out 2 Scavenging Oozes for Ghost Vacuum, 2 Scavenging Oozes for the... you could do Maelstrom Pulse, or I would actually do the 2-sided card that allows you to exile cards for 2 mana and draw a card, or pay like 6 and destroy all artifacts and enchantments on the board, because the artifact deck is so strong right now, so having that as an option in sideboard could be really helpful. And then you could get rid of 2 of these Miasmic Mists for the Ballad card. I can't remember the entire name of it, but it's pay like 2 black and X, or 1 black and... I think it's 1 black and X, and then anything with toughness X or less gets destroyed, but you take damage for that. What I would probably do is just switch these out for the end, so that you could exile more things from your opponent's library, as a like worst case scenario if you wanted any alternatives here. Land base here, I'm not using any underground mortuaries or starting towns in this one. You absolutely could. I would advise against the underground mortuary just because it enters tapped, and I didn't want that at all. And you get these multiversal passages from the new set. These actually have the added ability of whenever you choose what type for it to enter as, it will be that type for your Verge. So where your Verge says it is only able to be a multicolor land if you have a swamp or a forest, whenever you choose a type with the multiversal passage, it becomes that type and will make your Verge come online. So I decided to go ahead and give the multiversal passage a try over using something like the starting town, which could potentially enter tapped after turn 2 or after turn 3, or the underground mortuary, which would be tapped always. So that's why I went for the Multiversal Passage instead. I do still have 3 Restless Cottage. They can slow you down quite a bit, but they're very helpful in the late game, especially if you're up against something control-oriented that has a lot of removal, like board wipes, that isn't necessarily instant speed removal. Having a land creature can be huge, which is also why I'm running a few Soulstone Sanctuaries. They can be annoying and get you hung up on mana. We do have like a 2 green necessary here and a 2 black necessary here, but having a few extra land creatures can really help out a lot. And it also makes it to where if you wanted to put like Unholy Annex in the sideboard here, somewhere as a replacement for anything that I have here, you could do that and still have demons available in the deck. But anyway, that is how I've built the deck so far. This is somewhat of a work in progress, but I've been having fun playing this deck so far, so I wanted it to be the first one that I bring to you guys to check out because it's so different than anything else I've seen other people playing. I'm going to go ahead and get into games, play best of 1 like I normally do, and go for 3 wins. Hopefully you guys enjoy this. Alright, unfortunately our opponent does get to go first, but we've got a few Llanowar Elves here, so I don't hate going ahead and going like green, Llanowar Elf, Cottage, another Llanowar Elf, or something along those lines. We could get an Ouroboros out pretty quickly with this. We'll have to see how much interference we run into from our opponent. Playing blue, so there may be quite a bit of it, but we do have some removal, which is nice. Probably not going to be very useful against a blue deck, though. Okay, red-blue, so we're looking at probably a weapon manufacturing deck, if I had to guess. So I could go here and already be at 3, but I have no reason for that, so what I'm going to do is go here, get another Llanowar Elf out, and attack for 1. Okay, repurposing Bay from our opponent. Forest into Ouroboros seems really good here, and then we get to attack for 2. Have another Ouroboros in hand, so we're going to be able to overwhelm our opponent pretty quickly unless they have some good answers. Now, if I were them, I would try and search for some kind of an answer to my Ouroboros. I don't know if they have it. Okay. They are actually playing white as well. You just can't see it from their mana, so good to know. Let's go ahead and get another Ouroboros out. Just roll back the same previous turn. Not as much damage as I would have liked, but we're getting somewhere here at least. Let's see if they have a means of getting rid of this one without any white mana on the battlefield. Repurposing Bay can get them a 1-drop with that. Okay, so they're just entirely playing without white, I suppose. We do have a World Wagon now. Crewing it doesn't matter too much. Getting the extra mana kinda does. Let's see here, I'm gonna tap one of these, get the World Wagon. I need more mana, so we're definitely gonna go here, grab a swamp. Let's use Trajectory to get rid of their creature, and just attack in for a nice little 3. And the next probably is gonna be a Luis play. Okay, well, we got a win here. I don't know exactly what the opponent was doing here. It's like they were playing a Jeskai deck, because they do have white, but they weren't drawing any white. Like I said, I still believe this is probably a weapons manufacturing deck. That's the only reason to be running this much red. If this was a standard, like, Azorius control deck with a little splash of red for Fire Crystal, you wouldn't need this much red. So I think this was probably a Jeskai deck, where they weren't getting any white. They probably had in hand something along the lines of United Battlefront, wanting to use it, but couldn't because they didn't draw the land they needed. And, yeah, I don't know. So I think they were probably using weapons manufacturing, and then whatever that little red artifact is that pings for 2 and then can sacrifice artifacts to make 3/3 creatures. And then they may even have Tezzeret in this deck if it's similar to the ones I've seen in the past. I didn't expect to see the Perilous Snare, but they do pretty often run Duskrose Reliquary because you can use Tezzeret to search for that. But yeah, that's more or less what I was thinking. What I was going to be doing next turn was probably going for a big Luis. So with what we have on board here, I could do a X is 4, ping for 4 damage, tap Luis to crew the World Wagon, go get an extra land. That's where I was probably going next. But anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can't get a good game 2. Alright, we get to go first. We've got some pretty good land here. Go ahead, pay 2 life for green, get a Llanowar Elf out. That'll give us the option to go straight into World Wagon. Okay, let's go Swamp, World Wagon. I think in this case I'm definitely going to go for another green. So if we get another land, we could get our Sandman out and use it to crew. We did not. So I think instead I'm going to go here, Sandman, crew up both of these, pack in, and get another land. Let's get double black now. Okay, seize the spoils. This is a reanimator deck, 100%. So let's see here. Let's go with this. It says crew of 4. Take action. Get another forest. We're hitting for 10. He's at 6. Let's see if he can win this turn. Okay, he's going to get some blockers for sure. Play this. Can be tapped. And then what is this? 2, 4, 5. Should have just done it for the full 6, but I messed up. So, really good win there. I, in fact, could have just won with Luis, but I miscounted. You get the 1 discount here, and then you can tap both the Llanowar Elves for land. I could have even entered that untapped and hit them for 7, which I probably should have done, but Luis is absolutely an MVP of this deck. It's the actual only reason we're going for World Wagon. But that was pretty nice here, too, because we were going to get to attack with 6 with the World Wagon, 6 with the, what's his name? Sandman, Scouring Storm Soul. Neither has Trample, unfortunately, but this can't be blocked by, what is it, 2 or less power? I can't even see. Can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. So couldn't block here, would have to block with one of these 2 for here, and then could block here for here. But yeah, I should have just killed with this. My miscount mattered there, but we were still going to get in enough damage to kill him, I think. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so if I just attack with everything, he'd still take the 1 damage. Anyway, let's go ahead and see if we can get a good game 3. That was a pretty fantastic game 2, even if I did bad math. Okay, we get to go first. We have no Llanowar Elves and no black, so I think this is a mulligan. Mana's much better now. Still no Llanowar Elf is disappointing. But I suppose I'll keep getting rid of the Bitter Triumph because we need the land. Let's go here since we don't have a Llanowar Elf. Likely we'll shoot that, but we'll wait and see what they do. Not worried about the kitten particularly, but that would have started gaining token or 1/1 counters from this point, so needed to go ahead and go there. Got a Sandman. I think I actually want to go Sandman first so that we can get it back with this. Okay, that gets rid of Cecil, deals a little bit of damage to our opponent. Now we can go here, get Sandman back. And if they don't kill this, we can do a pretty fantastic Luis on the next turn. Okay, they did kill it. Still a pretty good Luis next turn. Or we could go for a big Sandman, depending on what we want. Okay, let's go here. We're looking at a 3, X is 3. Not a finisher, but that's going to be a pretty sizable creature for them to deal with now. Discarding the land's probably a good bet. Didn't seem like they had much gas left at the moment. Shoot the Sheriff to get rid of Luis is pretty smart. But now we are going to have a pretty good Sandman. I like Brunhilde, but it's not exactly dangerous at the moment, I guess I could say. So we can only play one. I'm going to go Sandman. We do have Brocco in the wings, which is pretty nice too. Another spider. I'm probably going to be ignoring the creature for a while. World Wagon's pretty nice. We'll go ahead and get it in. Get an extra land. Why not go Swamp, I guess. And then we'll attack. Nothing he has can block the Sandman at the moment. All of his things have too low power to deal with it. We actually get a card draw and a life thanks to his creature dying. Hasty Enduring Curiosity is pretty interesting. Yeah, no, I'm not interested in that at all. He gains no life. So I think what we do is just go right here. Get us some even bigger stuff. I'm pretty sure we just win here off of... Okay, not quite. Do I even need to shoot the Sheriff here? Because this doesn't have trample. No. So, we'll just do like this. I'll let him gain the 1 for now. Get another draw from Brocco, which is nice. Brocco does have trample. Alright, really easy game 3 there. Our opponent was on some kind of an aggro deck. I do absolutely plan on getting some Rizna and doing some aggro spider stuff in Rakdos, but I'm actually most excited for Boros, if I'm being totally honest, for this card. I think Boros Spiders is going to be really good. For my next turn, I was probably... I don't know. So we've got the Cottage, and we've got Soulstone Sanctuary. I was probably going to animate the Soulstone Sanctuary, play a land, see what I get next. Maybe I would animate my Cottage just to attack in with the World Wagon, but the main thing was just to attack with Brocco, because he's got Trample. And then Sandman couldn't be blocked by either of these, because that one power that this has here, making it a 3/2, was about to go away. So Sandman was going to be able to get through these without having a lifelink blocker even possible. But yeah, all right. So good game 3. This was Golgari Villains. You know, kind of with a twist. Pretty fun. Also a decent just Golgari mid-range deck to begin with. You may want to pump more removal into this because pretty much everybody's just removing all your creatures at this point. So I may do an updated or tweaked version of this deck in the future as well. But hopefully you enjoyed this. I think this deck's a lot of fun and has a lot of potential. Hopefully you guys can experiment with it and make it even better.